last we're going to do last.
I'll get outside anyway.
I like 0 times a month.
All right, we
Me
ready?
too. I'm okay.
Here we go.
Sure.
All right, call this meeting to order. First item on the agenda will be swearing in and oath of office for Rebecca Brooks. So Rick and Terry,
Okay.
we're going to take over for that,
The
please.
first thing that I would do would recommend that the chair entertain a motion to approve the appointment. Do we have that motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Oh, don't I have to read this?
Please do.
Yeah. I hereby move to accept the recommendation and appointment of the Lenawee ISD to appoint Rebecca Brooks to fill the vacancy on the TPS School Board of Education, which was created by the invalidation of the TPS Board of Education's appointment of Kevin Johnson to hold office, only until a successor is elected at the next general November election in the manner provided by law.
Second.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept Rebecca onto the board. We will have a roll call vote on this. Trustee Lewis,
Aye.
Trustee Moore,
Aye.
Trustee Simpson,
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion approved.
Now, Terry can handle the swearing in.
Ready to swear, Becky?
Always.
Do you have your oath? You want to just read that? I hereby accept.
You know
That's
what?
right.
I don't.
Here.
Thank you.
You bet.
Get this. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of Tecumseh Public Schools, Lenawee County, Michigan, according to the best of my ability.
So approved by notary.
Thanks, Tony.
Okay, welcome to the board again.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
I guess I did have it right here, didn't I?
Okay. It's hard to find when you're,
Right.
so. All right, we'll get all the official signatures.
Here and here.
All fancied up.
Why not you?
I don't have, this is my suit.
Oh.
This is an old lady suit. It's so warm on a cold day.
Thank you, my
All
dear.
right, very good,
Welcome.
Thank you.
for sure, for sure. All right, well, now we will move on to the Pledge of Allegiance.
At this time, I would like to request that we take a moment of silence to honor and recognize Darlene Pentrix, a longtime former Tecumseh teacher at Tecumseh Public Schools who recently lost her fight against COVID-19. We ask that you keep the Pentrix family in your thoughts and prayers. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, we'll move on to the good news. Rick?
Yeah, we have listed under good news, we have Teacher Appreciation Week. I have a couple other things that I want to mention. Obviously, we don't just appreciate our teachers for a week, but we especially appreciate them during National Teacher Appreciation Week, which is coming up next week. So our teachers will be receiving some goodies throughout the week, both from on the board's behalf and also from their own building administration, PTO, parents, things like that. So just want to recognize maybe even more than ever, the things that our teachers have onboarded throughout this pandemic for over the last 400 or so days, the amount of extra work and training and retraining that they have gone through, on top of the incredible difference that they've always made in the lives of our students. A very, very heartfelt thank you from myself as superintendent, and I'm sure as members from the board, perhaps during comment, you'll have something else to say. I also want to mention next week, Thursday, May 6th, is Nurses Day. And our school nurse, Denise, has really just had a singular focus this year, trying to keep kids safe, working with the ever-changing guidelines from the health department, and managing that with our families throughout the school year. So if you see Denise or have her email address, just drop her a line and say thanks.
And when is that?
That is Thursday.
This Thursday, 29th?
The 6th.
Oh, May
Thursday,
6th.
the 6th of May. Mhm. And also want to mention that rather quickly, the last few hours, the high school has worked with Schmidt and Son Pharmacy to create a vaccine clinic at the high school for the 16, 17, 18-year-old students to receive the Pfizer vaccine should they choose to do that. So thank you to Sam, who's, I think, here this evening, and also to the high school administration for working on that so quickly.
Is there a date set for that?
It's coming up this Wednesday, correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
Wednesday afternoon, 11:30 to 2:30.
28.
That's the virtual day, so
Oh, okay.
we can spread out and use lots of spaces to take care of it, and we're already organizing that with a schedule.
So they get permission
parents.
from their parents, or all the forms get filled out ahead
Right,
of time?
yeah,
and then-
yeah,
Okay,
there's
so you're
a-
already working on it.
There's a permission form that needs to be filled out by the parents and a questionnaire, and that's available to our students. And one of the nice benefits of that is that if the student is vaccinated after 2 weeks, then they wouldn't have to quarantine if something came up. So it's smart for lots of reasons, but
After
that's
they're
one
fully
of them.
vaccinated, but both times, then
Correct.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 30 days in between and then 2 weeks after. So.
So when did they do that, as far as no quarantining? That's a new CD?
Right. If you're vaccinated, fully vaccinated, 2 weeks after you're fully vaccinated, then CDC guidelines say that if you're a close contact, that you no longer have to quarantine.
Okay.
If that were the case. So that's a benefit to.
But they still have to wear their masks?
Yeah,
we haven't
yes.
eased
Mask
up on
order is
that
still
at
in
all?
place, and that's still the case. All of our distancing and things
Right.
like that still applies.
Okay.
So that's it.
All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone here who has a comment on an agenda item?
Good evening, everybody. Yeah, my comment, I guess, is Section 7, School Board Investigation. Okay. Give me 1 second. It is my opinion that, and I agree, hopefully this is going to be an investigation into this board's actions, is what I hope this is really about. I feel that there are many reasons why, and I'd like to just state some of those. This all started back with the unethical behavior of the board in reinstating Kevin Johnson. Let's not forget Milt Abbott sent in his resignation on October 13th. Let's not forget that Milt Abbott also recommended Sam Schmidt for his replacement. Let's not forget that Sam Schmidt put in an email when he pulled his name for consideration for Milt's seat because he felt that seat was duly owed to Len Davis. Let's not forget, it was Becky Brooks, John Benzing, Susan Moore, and Tritt that ignored the recommendations and ignored the vote of the community by reinstating Kevin. I'm also here to talk about the behavior of the two board members that have yet to explain their actions on November 28th. Why did they act independently of the board? Why did they investigate our young men playing in a non-school related event? Why did they follow a coach home? What photos did they review to identify this coach? I want to remind you guys, this coach had yet to even coach a single game here in Tecumseh. There couldn't have been any photos that you had on file of this gentleman. I would also like to read a paragraph from an email that I obtained through the Freedom of Information Act. This email is dated April 7th, and it was to Tim and Rick Hilderly from John Benzing, who, not surprisingly, he's not here. This one paragraph that I'd like to read states, "This board is a board of education, not a board of athletics. Our job is to do what's best for the students of TPS, not just a small group of athletes whose parents think the world revolves around them." We, the board members, we have board members that continue to push a false narrative and try to save an employee who has 2 strikes against them and who has turned in his resignation. Well, John, let's analyze this. This is a board of education, not of athletics. John, the board, as a board member, you should look at the whole child, not just the academics. The job includes athletics, musics, the arts, and many more extracurricular activities that help shape the youth. A board member not knowing those responsibilities is completely out of touch. Let's also look at this here, John. Our job is to do what's best for the TPS students. Totally agree. Not just a small group of athletes whose parents think the world revolves around them. That might be the most ignorant statement I've ever heard a single board member here ever say. I find that extremely appalling. If the board had started an investigation into any other sport, those parents would just be as irate as I am. I hope you realize that many other student athletes in Tecumseh were doing the exact same thing our kids were doing. I would like to remind you that those student athletes were playing in a non-school related event. The basketball season hadn't even started yet. The decision to take our kids to Toledo was entirely up to us parents. The fact that the board thought they could investigate our decision is appalling. Over 60% of the students thereabouts in Tecumseh High School are student athletes. Student athletes. Most of them have their academic letter. I will guarantee you that 60% of that 60%, 100% of those parents would be extremely upset if their kids were made to be the center of an investigation. John, I'd also like to mention the fact that you mentioned the false narrative. What false narrative are you referring to? Are you referring to the facts from the recon report? Because the facts in that report were given by Kevin and Becky, in my opinion. Are you referring to the comments in which Becky gave to the paper where she quoted, "We happened to just walk into a facility where they were playing. We didn't follow a coach home. We happened to drive in the same direction." I'm not aware that going through Bedford is actually taking the route to Tecumseh. I've never ever drove through Bedford to get back home. Are you referring to Milt Abbott's resignation on November 18th? Wait, sorry, October 13th. I also have that through FOIA, so I definitely know the resignation went in on the 13th. The only false narrative that I've heard really are the ones that is coming from that side. I also would like to know why, Becky, on that email, you are sending school emails to your private email. Rebecca Landers at Yahoo. I just want to know why that is. I don't know that that's actually appropriate use of board emails. You can save an email to a file without sending it to your own personal email. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment on agenda items? Okay,
I have a quick note for Brian.
okay.
Just FYI, Brian, you still here?
Is that,
I have 5 children, 5 children and 4 grandchildren that live in Bedford, so I do go that way frequently. Just FYI.
It was in a pandemic.
Don't- don't talk. Okay, move on.
all right, we'll move on. I'm going to ask if there's any revisions to the agenda. If not, I'll accept a motion I'll accept the motion to accept the agenda.
I
So
move to accept the agenda as is.
Support.
It's been moved and supported to accept the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Agenda approved. Scheduled reports. We'll start with the financial reports.
Good evening, board. In your packet should be the March financials for 2021. Cash on hand as of March 31st is for all funds in all bank accounts is $9,853,958.44. Total accounts payable or for the check run for all runs in the month of March is $513,250.27. Total year-to-date revenues, again, for all funds combined, is $22,793,152.22. For that same time period, total expenditures, again, for all funds combined, is $17,520,088.37. Also included in your packet was the comparative revenue reports comparing 2021 to 2020. And also for comparative expenditures for that same time period. As it is the end of the third quarter, I also include the pool reports for your review. Total year-to-date pool revenue through July 1st through August 31st is $172,001.31. And total expenditures for that same time period is $145,154.68.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions for the on the financials? I know that earlier John had asked some questions and we've answered those. Thank you very much for that. Anybody else have questions? No? All right, thank you again. As always, more detail than it takes me time to get through, but that's what we need and we appreciate that. It's at some point we all need it and that's great. We appreciate that. We did have a meeting of the Facilities and Grounds Committee last week, so I've asked Greg to please give us an update on that.
Okay, we had a meeting last week. It was Tony, myself, Suzanne, Rick, and Tom Hawkins. We had asked the ESG report that we had a while back. We had voted to move forward and get bids for that. We're going to continue to do so. The one wrinkle is we're going to look at possibly doing that with some internal staff to try and save ourselves some money versus having another company do that for us. That's just in the beginning stages, but when the time things go out for bid, we'll have 30, 60 days before, so we can review that for ourselves and see if we can make it more cost saving yet. Any questions?
Yeah, we're looking at doing internal as a person we all know. I mean, we're not there yet, but certainly has the possibility of being a pretty good option to maybe save the taxpayers and us some money and we can get more done. So great, thanks, Mr. Lewis. Any questions? All right, next on the agenda, reports is the school board investigation. And I have a statement in regards to that. At the April 12th board meeting, one of our members made reference to the possibility that there were laws that had been broken by board members. As a result of this comment, I have reached out to that board member for further clarification. I have shared his feedback with Mr. Hilderly, who has in turn spoken with our legal counsel. Our counsel have reviewed this information and have informed us that they do not believe any laws have been broken based on the information available. Given this, I feel there's no need for further investigation and deem this issue closed. Again, this is in response to the comments that were made last meeting. And I just wanted, I felt it was important when it's brought up to the public that we look into it. And that's where that issue stands. Questions? All right, we'll move on to discussion items. We'll start off with the continuity learning plan with two-way communications.
Again, in accordance with the state regulations, monthly, the board reviews any changes to our instructional delivery practices. We continue to provide education in three manners: live instruction, the distance learning, and the virtual academy. At this time, we do have some classrooms that are in distance because of COVID protocols that would normally be live. But what the state requires is if you change in any way the process that you deliver instruction, that you make that clear in your plan. We've not changed any of our modes to this point, so we'll recommend in the action items that you approve our CLP and two-way communication log.
I noticed that on we seem like we're doing much better in the do not communicate in the two-way. Is that because we come back to more in-person learning, or what? Just hard work of our staff?
I think that it really is mostly hard work and communicating with our people. There's nothing magical about it. You have to talk to the folks either electronically or by phone or face to face. And we've just gotten better at it, and I think people understand now what's expected a lot better than earlier in the year.
Yeah, I can tell you from my wife's in a classroom in the ISD, and this is a real problem. Her teacher works an ungodly amount of hours to get that done, and again, just thanks to the entire staff, because that is not easy. That's a topic of conversation many times about how hard her teacher works to get that done. So thanks to the staff for being diligent on that. Okay, we have any other comments on that? No. All right, we have received a gift from Tecumseh Plywood for another $4,000 for the middle school weight room. This is just the public response to this is just incredible.
Right. Yeah. These are funds that have not been solicited actively. And it fails to surprise me anymore, having been in Tecumseh for over 30 years. The amount of giving and the amount of support that there is in our community for the schools. But it certainly is no less appreciated. And I will recommend that the board accept the gift from Tecumseh Plywood for $4,000. Brings our total to $27,400. Is that what you told me?
$24,800.
$24,800 is the total number of donations, in addition to the athletic activity money that is being allocated to it.
Just incredible.
It says weight room floor. Is that?
Yeah, there's the floor that is in that room is, obviously classroom tile. So they're going to be, they're earmarking their donation for the padded floor, the foam floor that goes over top of that protects the tile, and also is a better lifting environment for the,
And that covers the whole entire floor?
all the
That's
wall.
awesome.
Yep.
When they drop those weights, it doesn't
That's right.
go in the cement.
Rattle somebody's feelings.
Right.
All right. Rick, please update on the TAA negotiations and contract.
Okay, so provided in your packet was a slice of language that the board was requesting. So that is the first draft of that language. And I provided later this afternoon, in case you hadn't been able to put your hands on it, another copy of the draft TAA language. So you have that information. Because it's negotiated contract, if there are questions or changes, then I would recommend at the next meeting, we have an executive session to talk about those things before going to a final vote. So, like I said, because it's a negotiated contract, we can't really have an open discussion about it, but I can entertain questions about what more information you might like me to provide.
Okay, so I guess I would ask the board if you feel the need to discuss these, please let me know, and we will make sure we arrange a closed session to do that, okay?
Okay.
I know that I did get a chance to quickly read the wording, but not my full attention. It was just on my phone, so I think it's a great idea. We will take a couple weeks to look at it, and if we want to go to the discussion, we'll get that scheduled for sure, okay? Good. All right. Any more discussion on that? We'll move on to action items. Becky, are you reading?
Sure.
Okay.
I hereby move to set Monday, August 30th, 2021 as the official start date for the 2021 through 2022 school year for all TPS students.
Support.
Wait, is that right? Is that,
I think that was a typo.
I think it should be 21,
That's what I
22.
said.
2022.
Okay, so you said 21, 22?
Correct.
Okay. Suzanne, you supported that?
I supported
Okay.
it, yep.
Any discussion on that issue? All right, we'll have roll call vote. Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion passes. Monday, August 30th will be the first day of school. I'm sure the students are ready to go.
Hope that works this time.
Hopefully we'll be through
Right.
COVID. That's right. All right.
Moving on. I hereby move to approve continuation of the district's extended continuity of learning plan for the month of April 2021 as presented, which was originally approved by the Board of Education in September 2020, and further acknowledge the district's pupil count process, which provides for two-way communication with students. Additionally, the TPS Board of Education confirms the following instructional delivery models: 1, face-to-face, 2, distance learning, and 3, virtual learning. The board also directs administration to post and submit said plan as required by MDE. You have a
Do
second?
we have support?
Support.
It's been moved and supported to approve the extended community learning plan. Any discussion on this? Okay, we'll have a roll call vote. Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion's approved.
Ready?
Please.
I hereby move to accept with thanks the $4,000 donation from Tecumseh Plywood. Said funds are earmarked for the middle school strength and conditioning program.
Support.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we accept a donation from Tecumseh Plywood. Any discussion on this issue? All right, we'll have a roll call vote. Trustee Moore?
Aye.
Trustee Simpson?
Aye.
Trustee Brooks?
Aye.
Trustee Lewis?
Aye.
Chair votes aye with, again, many thanks to Tecumseh Plywood and all the vendors. This is just overwhelming. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I hereby move to approve the consent agenda, which includes the following items: minutes from the special board meeting of March 30th, 2021, and minutes from the regular board meeting of April 12th, 2021.
Support.
All right, it's been moved and supported to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, Superintendent Report. You're on again, Rick.
I'm on again. Okay, a few things to talk about tonight. One of them we have not talked about in quite a while, actually. That is the sale of the board office building. I had a communication with Craig Patterson. And his statement at this time is that they're highly encouraged with proposed changes to the MISTA application. MISTA is an acronym that stands for Michigan State Housing Development Authority, for those of you scoring at home. So they're encouraged. Not all the changes have been confirmed, but we think that the new scoring will help our funding probability. And the next application round has been confirmed for October. So it'll be fall before they're going to know whether or not they qualify for their funding. And then
So the application's in October and they will know in October as well?
the application deadline is October 1st. And then they shortly after that, this MISTA group has a hearing where they award those grants based on the applications. And different items in the community score different ways. And what he's saying is that they're pleased with the items that are in the scoring and how Tecumseh scores for their grant. So still looks good. We're still roughly maintaining the building. We've had some problems with some vandalism, but we're on top of having somebody in there on a daily basis and cleaning things up. And there was a little bit of a pipe burst in the winter from one of the heat units, but building still stands, and most of the items of any value have been moved out and relocated in another storage facility on our property. So we just wait for this and continue to take a look through there every day to make sure that things are in order. I wanted to update you on the timeline for the other vacant board member seat. Just a reminder that all applicants for that open seat need to apply by Tuesday, April 27th at 5 p.m. The next regularly scheduled LASD Board of Education meeting is at 4 o'clock on May 3rd, which is a week before our next meeting. And that means that we should have the seventh member seated at that time when we meet. So one more meeting and we'll be back to a full board. Want to remind anybody who is interested in the LISD legislative breakfast that's coming up on May 7th at 7:30 a.m. All are invited. You just need to RSVP. You can let Terry or myself know. It is a virtual meeting. We'll run from about 7:30 to 8:30. Representative Colley and Senator Zorn should be on that event and speaking to the group. So please let us know if you're interested.
Virtual for them, not the group, right?
Virtual for everybody. Yeah.
How can they call it a breakfast then if you can't even?
Well,
There is no
I
breakfast.
think it's
That's misleading.
I think it's provide your own.
I was gonna go
Right.
just for
Yeah.
eggs. No, I'm teasing you.
Here's what I
Until you get a little
suggest,
cold.
Suzanne. I would suggest that you go to Lev's that morning early.
Yeah, turn my computer
You come
on.
and see all of us one by one deliver, and we'll have breakfast.
All
together.
right.
I will be in for that.
Another reminder that Community Learning Connection, CLC, their March mingle is now a May mingle. so that we can have that event outside coming up on the 15th of May, and tickets are still available. So
So, yeah, that's a good, I mean, I was looking to try to find out, where do we go for, or who do we call for tickets?
I've got information that I can forward to you, and
Yeah,
you can get
please
in
forward it
touch.
to me, I don't know.
We'll
I
get
think we
it
got
to
an
the-
email yesterday and there's a link. If you click it, it's got the tickets, it's got a brochure.
Who, I don't know. Did I see it?
I'll double check.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's come out.
Resend it.
I've
I'm
pestered
pretty sure I
the-
didn't see it.
I've pestered the community the last 2 weeks on the Sunday announcements as well. So they're floating around out
So
there.
how are ticket sales going? Do we know?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I have not talked to Heather this week about how they're doing. Tim, do you know anything about how that looks?
We need to kick it in gear.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I was trying to find information on it
so
just
it's
this week.
it's on the golf course website, Tecumseh Golf Club
Okay.
website. You can go there and buy your tickets.
All right.
Is it gonna be there?
Yeah,
Is it gonna be outside like a tent?
outside. Yeah, we're gonna have 2 tents,
Okay,
outside games.
okay.
What's the
So-
timing on it? I mean, like the time of day?
It starts at 6. I think the food goes from 6 to 7:30. Is that right, Sam?
7:30 or 8.
Okay. And then they're gonna have some live entertainment and
Oh.
so forth. So
I got tickets at the pharmacy too. If
Oh.
anybody wants to buy them without using the computer.
Okay, awesome.
Good.
Thanks,
sir.
Sam. Sam, again, I don't know if you could hear, but Sam, they have tickets at the pharmacy downtown, right?
Yeah.
Good. Awesome.
The email I was talking about, Tony went to Tecumseh Families. So
Oh.
if you don't have a kid, that's
Nope.
probably.
We
Yeah.
need to be part of the family.
Yeah.
That's right.
You
Get
can
the
get on the Friends and
family.
Family plan.
Also
Don't feel
wanna-
bad, I didn't get one either.
I will forward it to you.
I want to remind the community of the pool millage. The ballot calls it a recreation millage, and it mentions playgrounds. I just want to make sure that we're clear that that is the state guidelines for the wording of the ballot language. It's not Tecumseh Schools language. It is the ballot issue, the 0.25 mils that supports the operation of the community pools and thus makes it a recreational millage. That's coming up on the 4th of May, and we encourage folks to get out and vote on that issue and continue the funding for the community pool. And then lastly, Trustee Brooks had a question about some information that luckily Kelly had the information, so I'll let you talk about the PEBT information that some parents have been asking Mrs. Brooks about.
Correct. So the state of Michigan rolled out a pandemic emergency benefits program to ensure that all qualified students continue to receive meals benefits. So how the program works, an individual school building as a whole has to qualify. And they get classified as one of 3 attendance types. They're either 100% in person, 100% virtual, or hybrid. And they qualify on a monthly basis for, again, one of those 3 attendance types. And depending on how the building qualifies, then qualified students and their parents will receive a letter from the state of Michigan saying, your child qualifies for, let's say, hybrid benefits, because that's how the whole building was ranked. Now, that may or may not be how their individual child is actually attending school. They may be 100% in person, maybe they were 100% virtual. But once the parent receives that letter, they can fill out what's called a reconsideration form. It's in that letter that was sent home, there should be a website address that they can go and obtain that form. Though also they can contact their individual school. They would also have a form. So the parent would just need to fill out that form. The school building itself needs to confirm what type of learning was in place for that particular child. It could be just as simple as an email statement saying, yes, my child was 100% virtual for the month of May, or whatever month it is. And in that case, then that form, the school's confirmation gets sent to the state, and then those benefits then are reassessed and reapplied to whatever actual qualification the student has.
So it doesn't change their benefits, it just,
It might change their
Oh,
benefits. So
right.
if the school building as a whole qualified as hybrid and your student from that building was 100% virtual, once you fill out then this reconsideration form saying, no, my student was 100% virtual, that gets it into the state. And then the state then will give you 100% benefit levels versus partial.
And the parent that had contacted me thought we had filed it wrong for their student.
Misapplied.
So I'm sure there's other parents that probably think that.
Yeah, but when you have something like this going on and half your kids are out and half are in, that truly is hybrid, but some of those half that are totally out would qualify.
Right.
Seems like they're making it hard on people.
I'm not fond
It's
of
not
how
your
the
fault.
state's rolling out this program, but that's the methodology they
Right.
chose.
I just wonder if we shouldn't put a memo out or something just to clarify
So
for those
I
parents.
do know also part of that process is if the district had to communicate in two common ways, either newsletter home, posting on your door. We posted also on our website, letting our parents know that, hey, there's this process that you follow if you think you qualify.
Gotcha.
So we did try to communicate that, and that is also part of the state requirement to get the information out.
Can you target just those people who are virtual and send it to them because you know those are the ones that,
Actually, I do not know who qualifies and who doesn't.
oh, okay, because it's based on income.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
So you could be virtual and not qualify.
Great.
Okay, I got you.
We can, if there's something that we can put together, we could provide it through the Sunday announcements and provide it that way too, maybe a little bit more active to get the information that way.
If someone's entitled to them, I certainly want them to get their benefits.
Sure.
We'll try to make sure everybody understands it. Okay,
thank you.
I've
Thank you.
done enough here.
Thanks, Rick. All right, that takes us to items scheduled for next agenda. We meet May 10th. We will have some good news, we're sure of it. We will have discussion items on the LISD election and board resolution.
Well, that wouldn't be under discussion, would it? Oh, I guess it's under discussion and action.
Right.
Yeah, well,
Oh, that's
actually-
their election. That's not anything. to
Yeah,
do with
that's
our
not us,
officer.
that's
Yeah, okay,
them.
I'm sorry.
Right, that's
Yeah.
their election.
Yeah.
We will have a discussion on the food service contract. As far as action items, we will we'll have another ceremony, just as we did today, for swearing in and oath of office for our seventh member. We will then have election of officers to fill the seats that have been vacated. And then we will have a discussion on the TAA. And again, if we need to go to closed sessions, please, if you feel we need to, please let me know. Okay, that brings us to closing and public comment. I know that I think Carrie, yeah, I know you already reached out to me, so I'm going to go ahead and ask if you want to step forward. I didn't mean to call you out, but I know you did send me an email, so.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Barden, and this is my first time speaking at a meeting, so I am a bit nervous, and I'm also filled with lots of emotions, so please bear with me. As you may or may not know, last week we lost one of the best educators Tecumseh Public Schools has ever had, Darlene Pentrix. She was a famous kindergarten teacher here for over 30 years. Darlene was my neighbor for my whole life. She was my oldest son's teacher. She was my colleague, and most importantly, she was my friend. Darlene graduated from Tecumseh. She then came back to teach in Tecumseh. She loved Tecumseh and continued to cheer on her former students and colleagues. She faithfully attended board meetings after she retired, both in person and virtually. And she did this because she cared about Tecumseh schools. Over 30 years of teaching kindergarten is a really long time, and that means she taught a lot of children, well over 600. There's a famous poem called All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten, and I'm sure that many of you have probably heard of it. The poem tells us to share everything, play fair, say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. It even reminds us to wash our hands before we eat and, well, to flush. So lately, I have been watching the board meetings online on my own. I have also been reading different news sources such as MLive, the Daily Telegram, the Clinton Local, and of course, social media. In each of these sources, it seems like Tecumseh has become the center of attention in a negative way. And as I have been reminded this week, life is just too short. So I am here today to ask this board, the past board members, and the members of our community to play nice, to please go back to the basics that our kindergarten teachers, including Mrs. Pentrix, taught us all. It's okay to disagree. That's what a board is supposed to do. However, please do it in a kind and respectful way. Please value the differences of opinions, as that is how one is supposed to conduct themselves at a board meeting. Seek to build an environment of trust and respect among board members. Play fair. Don't interrupt when others are speaking, and think before you speak. Don't name call. Please help the community stay focused on the positives so comments made on social media don't become a continuation of something that happened at a board meeting. Together, we can promote positivity and showcase what a wonderful place TPS truly is. Tecumseh Public Schools is better than we have been acting, and I am hopeful that the lessons Mrs. Pentrix taught will be a reminder to all of us that we need to get back to what we learned in kindergarten. We have the ability to promote kindness and should honor the countless staff members, including Darlene, who have made these lessons their life ambition. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Please step forward.
Hi, my name is George Lesko. I'm the head wrestling coach here in the district. I haven't been tuned in a whole lot to what's been going on, just hearing some things. Our season just ended a little over 2 weeks ago, and so our focus really was on the kids. So I've been spending a lot of time, even in the off season. It was a lot harder this summer because of the pandemic, working, especially in wrestling. I just wanted to come forward and tell you my experience with Mr. Zajac. It was disturbing, some of the things I was hearing, and I really was not in a position to opine on that at the time. I'm not the decision maker here. You all are. And by the way, for that, I would tell you, thank you for being in these positions. They're not easy. I have been in them most of my life. I've been on boards. I own a couple different businesses. I have over 100 employees. And so I can speak on behalf of what it's like to hire and fire people. And in this case, it certainly doesn't seem to be an offense to force a man, his wife, his children to be removed from this community. So I can speak from my personal experience working for John, because I think I'm the only one here maybe that does. So I know what he has done for the program in just a couple of years that I've been back. So I was gone for a while, had medical issues of my own. And after my health was better, Mr. Zajac had reached out to me. I did not apply, but I came back really for two reasons. My incentive were the kids needed somebody, and it was unfortunate what happened with Coach Mary. And I have grandsons here now. My grandchildren are here, and I did care about this program that I worked so hard for 20 some years to build. And with a lot of help, with a lot of folks. And by the way, I haven't been at a meeting in many, many years. And now that Mr. Niles, Mr. Dolson are here, I want to thank them because they've been very helpful, especially this year. In a time where passing judgment on folks in these kinds of positions is so easy to do. I had met this week with Dan Hutchison, who's a director up at MHSAA. And it's amazing to me, the criticism that even they got. All they were trying to do was give kids a winter sports season. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't. But the seniors got a chance to finish. And whatever sport it is, you got a chance to finish. We were moving dates and moving schedules, and there were kids that were COVID. We were out twice this year ourselves, and on top of having several kids individually quarantined. It was the most trying coaching year of my life. I did more coaching and mentoring of kids and their emotional, where they were psychologically, than I ever did in my life. So on top of trying to teach them the sport, trying to get them to hold it together as they struggled with academics, they struggled with learning, struggled with eligibility, struggled with the virus. It was just all encompassing. It was terrible. Also, because he's here. At first I thought it was ZZ Top here, but I see Tom Hawkins here. I haven't seen him in a while, but I'll tell you, I mean, we because of having to clean the room and all the mopping and things we do. Last year when I came back in 2019-20, I was on Tom for a lot of things. This year I was just telling him, I actually brought my tools in and did a lot of the work myself because I knew how busy he was and how shorthanded he is. So I would actually have our wrestlers help me with certain maintenance items. And but Tom was also very helpful. Larry Patton, who I coach with, assistant coach, is here. And John Wines is here, who was the president of our wrestling club. You know, a couple of years ago, we didn't have that many kids involved, but between those levels, the middle school and the club and here, we're roughly about 130 kids back in the wrestling sport here in Tecumseh, and I'm grateful for that. I will also say, years ago it was a lot easier. There wasn't as much judgment being passed. When I was an athlete, my dad always took the coach's side. My father and mother always took the teacher's side. When I screwed up, they didn't come to defend me. They were on the teacher's side, and I things have changed so drastically. But I'll tell you, we have great families here. I was so impressed this year with the families of these kids at such a trying time with this pandemic. I'm some of the seniors, when they lost their last match and some of the things they've been through, damn near brings you to tears. This thing right here, I'm sure you're all familiar with what this is. It's just a non-contact digital thermometer. This you may not be familiar with. There are well over 100 pages in here. And you can see them filled out, name, temperature. This is a logbook for COVID. Again, I'm not something I wanted to do. And I was forced to do this by Mr. Zajac. I didn't think much of it at the time. But then all of a sudden, when we got our own cases of infection, the Nurse Osworth and some of the folks from the health department that came that I was able to turn this over to, they commended the school district here for Mr. Zajac making all of our coaches, not just me, but all of the sports, keeping this log. This is dated all the way back to our first day of practice. And not only just the kids, but anytime we had a visitor in the room that was going to stay for any length of time, especially if you're going to have your hands on those kids. As you know, wrestling's a contact sport. And so sometimes coaching them, we have to be in contact with them. These things were really tough in our sport. We broke lots of these ear bands. We're not perfect. You put 30, 40 wrestlers in a room and I turn my back on them for 5 minutes and they start wrestling and doing things they're not supposed to be doing under the pandemic. It isn't easy. So I can understand why Mr. Zajac was taking those kids to try and get them to compete. And it's hard to measure the spirit of a youthful athlete. If he was trying to take your kids to get them competition, make them better, you probably wouldn't be complaining about it. In my opinion, the only thing he's guilty of being disliked. And all of us have those. If we were to form 2 and 3 people committees to follow each of you around for 24 hours, we would do it until we found dirt on you. It would happen to me too. And that's why we have to be careful. I don't know you, but what you just said was right spot on. That this needs to be handled differently. Hiring should be way more difficult than firing. Firing's easy. It's awkward. Somebody's going to get hurt by it, but making the decision's easy. Because a committee of people can come together and agree that was wrong. But if you can't all agree, and it's probably not an offense that should be terminated. Because you vet people to give them a position. But just because you dislike somebody doesn't mean you fire them. The 113 employees I have in my companies, I probably dislike 10% of them. But that's changing their life because I don't like them, because they've done small things wrong, but they show up and they perform. And I've even had to remind myself that. The younger version of me was way more aggressive about it until I understood how it impacts people. And that's why I wanted to come forward. I think you're making a big mistake. I've worked for a lot of athletic directors, and they've all been great. But John is special, the way he's helped me, and the way he's helped these kids, the way he's helped us build a program. The other problem with this system here that I see is that y'all, and I don't know all of you, can make a decision that someone should be terminated, and then what do? You pass the buck to Mr. Hilderly, because he's the one that's got to do the dirty deed. If you had to sit there and do it, I wonder if you actually would. Because I have impacted families with that decision before, and even in the most deserving case, it's still a punch in the gut for me, because it's tough. So I would ask you to reconsider, for sure. The other thing I wanted to come forward, and I didn't know about this either, quite honestly, until probably a little over a week ago. We have some families that want to be a part of Tecumseh Wrestling that aren't from our community. And they asked me some questions about it. I don't know these folks that well. And I had told them the best thing to do is come forward, come to a school board meeting, meet some folks. If they were to meet any one of you folks right here, and they were to ask you, is this district worthy of their family? I would hope that you would agree that it is. My problem is I just found out that Mr. Benzing has children that don't go to this school district. I would be fearful for them to ask him that same question. And then to ask him, and if it's so good, why don't you send your children here? These are the things that separate us. It's not about my agenda or your agenda. It should be our agenda. It's to be better. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else for public comment? No? Okay. Thanks very much to those of you who commented. Time for board member comments and discussion.
Got a couple things.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, we'll start with some positives. I understand from Mr. Hilderly that we tested 112 spring sports athletes on Wednesday and we had no positive tests. That is awesome.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Right. And also thanks to teachers Maggie Emmerich and Julie Cassie for moving their own items and getting their rooms set up. That was a huge help for everyone. Thank you so much on that. I would also like to say, of course, thank you to the LAISD for reseating me. That was great. And I'm going to put this out there that some of you didn't take a class that the rest of us did at the very beginning. Rick wasn't here then yet either. And in that class, we learned lots of things, but one of them was that there are 7 elected, 1 selected. We are the 7 elected. You are the 1 selected. We have put our faith in you. You have made a decision that had nothing to do with this board. And I, for one, am standing behind your decision. And not in just this event, but in the other events, we have to start putting our support behind you and letting you lead. So thank you. You've done a very good job, and I appreciate it. And I will continue to support you.
Thank you.
I would like to thank Tom Hawkins for getting Herrick Park rooms ready. ZZ. Yeah, good job. This will make the move so much easier when, it's just going to be a lot smoother. And the teachers chipping in too. It's just unbelievable how they're probably excited to get into that new building and all the clean paint. And I can't wait for a tour. And then I want to support the May Mingle. I'm going to buy my ticket and go. And I guess Rick already mentioned the pool renewal, but I hope everybody gets out and votes too.
Oh, yeah.
And I, for one, am ready for some positivity. In fact, I've made an oath to myself, to Rick, that I'm not going to let anybody drag me down into that negative mode anymore. And no matter how many people talk or how negative and somebody else gets, I'm not going to go there, because I want us all to get along respectfully, and I want us to move on from whatever has happened that nobody likes or somebody has a chip on their shoulder about, and continue to do what's best for kids. And if we're all working on the same team, we'll have a better chance of getting the bond passed, and a better chance of coming up with a great plan for kids, and we'll have a better chance for everything. Happiness.
And that's what we're here for.
Yes,
The kids.
that's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, I do have a couple things. I guess first I want to say, on behalf of the Tecumseh Public School Board and the schools, with our condolences to the Pendrix family. Darlene was my son's teacher as well, so she certainly made an impact on him. On a happier note, I want to congratulate Mr. Bob Ondrovic, who's elected to the MHSAA Hall of Fame. He's not here now, but he certainly was. We taught him everything he knows, and we sent him on to Byford to have lots of success. I actually saw Bob today in town, and I told him I was going to say that, and told him how happy we were for him. I mean, certainly, I don't know, did he coach me? I'm sure he coached. Don't want to age us, but Greg as well.
I'm sure he had some successes too.
Yeah, so I mean, it's always great to see one of your own. I mean, he was so thankful for all the people that gave him a break, and he was certainly wanted to say, it's sports is great and education is just as important, and he's very gracious, and well, congratulations to him. And then lastly, of course, just the appreciation of teachers I mentioned a little while ago. This has been a year I've experienced it in my home life with my wife, and it's amazing how much these teachers care and how hard they work. So thanks to everyone for that, especially our staff.
Well, they're important when you're my age. You still remember all their names of your kindergarten, second grade.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I can remember them all.
I remember a lot of them.
Yeah. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of people made impact on our lives, and I think that's what Carrie was said as well. Darlene was one of those people for sure. Anybody else? All right. Well, I guess with that, I'll accept motions to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Support.
The second in motion to motion, the second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.